Okay, what is up, everybody? This is not the video that I was intending on making today. I was actually supposed to have a track day today, but unfortunately the weather got in the way and it was canceled. I was actually supposed to be shooting my very first race this weekend. That was canceled too, so massive bummer. The track day a couple weeks ago was canceled. I haven't shot motocross in like 3 or 4 weeks now, which definitely sucks. In this video, I kind of want to talk about what I've learned in my first month of shooting motocross. I was kind of planning on doing this a little later once I have a little bit more experience, but these track days just keep getting canceled. So I figured it's officially been over a month since I started. So I may have only shot like 2 track days, but I will say I have learned so much just in those 2 days. It's pretty crazy. It's enough for me to make a whole video about it. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, the first thing that I've learned is the weather affects everything. I kind of just figured that if a track is muddy, you know, they're dirt bikes, so what's the big deal? But, you know, in the past few months, I've kind of learned how important the moisture is of the track and the safety too, especially for some of these practice tracks. You have all different levels of skill on the track. Mud might be perfectly fine for an extreme professional, but for those beginners, it's just kind of dangerous, especially when you mix different levels of expertise on the track at the same time. It's definitely a recipe for disaster, so I totally understand when tracks decide to cancel. It's definitely gotten in the way of the speed that I wanted to do this at. I had scheduled out my entire June, July, and August all around track days, races, and I would say only 45% of that plan so far has worked out. It's been a much slower process, which is perfectly fine. I have a ton still in the schedule for the remainder of July. Number 2, it's faster than you think. You know, I mean, I've been shooting for a very long time. I've shot a variety of different things for many, many years. I would say I'm pretty experienced when it comes to, you know, using a camera. But I will say, like, when it comes to slow motion, you know, you have 60 frames per second and you have 120 frames per second. You know, whenever I've needed slow motion, I would always just shoot in 60 frames per second. But when it comes to motocross, 60 frames per second is almost not slow enough. You could still get slow motion, but it's just not as crisp and not as slow as you would want it to be. So if you're shooting motocross and you're looking to slow down your footage, I highly recommend probably shooting in like 120 frames per second and above. Number 3, this was a surprising thing too. People will ask to buy photos. This is not something that I expected, partially because I was like, I just want to do this because I've always wanted to do this. I'm excited to take motocross photos. Money just was not really in my mind. Very first day, I ended up handing out every single business card that was in my wallet, and I got flooded with emails asking me if I had photos of this number with this bike, and they'll buy them. And I was kind of just like, what? Like, this is kind of crazy. Same thing with the second time that I was there. And like I said, I'm not doing this for the money. You know, obviously I would like to make a career in this, but right now I'm just trying to get experience. Eventually, like, did some research and I learned that a lot of photographers will use like Pixie to sell digital downloads of the photos that they take of races and track days. And that was a big eye-opener for me. Obviously, it's not like you're not making a full-time income doing it, but these tracks are pretty far away from me. So if I can pay for my gas along the way by selling these digital downloads for $3, $4, $5, whatever it is, then it's a good move. So I ended up opening up a website and a Pixie set, and I've actually made a couple sales already, which was a pretty big surprise just being a month into this. So yeah, next one is you have to keep your gear simple. This was something that I was sort of anticipating because I know myself pretty well when it comes to shooting anything. The more gear I have, the more overwhelmed I can get and the more just scatterbrained, the less focus I actually have, because I have just so many pieces of equipment to use. And in my eyes, a lot of times it's like one of those things where you would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But when it comes to motocross, scratch that. When it comes to sports, anything like fast paced, the gear will start getting in the way of you getting good shots. Like the very first day, I had like my backpack just filled to the brim with lenses and filters and everything that I thought I was going to use. And then by the end of the day, I had pretty much used none of it. And branching off of that, having a shoulder bag is such a game changer. I have the Peter McKinnon Nomadic backpack, so I'll usually just pack everything in there. And then when I get to the track, I will unload all the stuff that I know I'm going to use into this shoulder bag. So filters, batteries, business cards, one extra lens that I'll usually take with me, which is the Sony 24-105, obviously my Osmo Action 5, and that's pretty much it. Everything will just fit in here, and it just allows me to be like way more efficient, way faster. The gear doesn't get in the way of what I'm trying to do. Also, I have this little quick release on here, which allows me to, when I'm not using my Sigma 150-600, I clip it to my bag, which was also a game changer. I bought this quick release like 10 years ago, and I thought it was the coolest thing at the time, and then I used it once and never used it again. So it's just funny that 10 years later I'm making use of it now. And last but not least, and probably the most important realization that I had, was you really need to think outside of the box. Motocross can get super repetitive. Like if you go to shoot a practice that starts at 12 and ends at 5, all of these guys are just doing loops the entire time. Most of them are doing the same thing, unless you have a really experienced rider that's hitting the big jumps and doing massive whips and stuff like that. Most of them are just riding and practicing. Next thing you know, you're kind of getting a lot of the same shots. So you really need to get creative. You need to get more close up. You need to try just different angles, different perspectives, move around the track a lot more. That's something that I've been like kind of easing into as I've been growing my experience in this. I think my very first day, I was pretty nervous to just wander around the track. I didn't really know where I could go, so I found one place and I kind of stuck with that. But now that I've done it 2 times, I'm trying to kind of wander around the track a little bit more and just trying to get creative, trying to get like long exposure panning shots. If you look up motocross photography, a lot of it looks exactly the same. So you really need to think about how you can work outside the box a little bit more. For me, I've started using like mist filters on all of my cameras, just trying to give the photos a different look and feel. I'm somebody that really loves like the cinematic look of photography and film. Like when I go and shoot, I'm always shooting with the idea of like, I want this to look like it's a still from a movie. So that's how I grade my photos. That's how I edit everything. And it's also how I shoot too. And honestly, that's pretty much it. It's been a wild first month of motocross photography and video. I'm having a blast. I really, really love this. I don't really know if it's going to be like motocross exclusively, but I think motorsports overall is just something that I'm very gravitated to. I have a track day next weekend, crossing my fingers that we don't have any more cancellations. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like down below. If you want to see more, if you want to follow the journey, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.